All right. So just a while ago, we got back from seeing the newest offering in the Alien, I guess, Alien verse called Alien Romulus. And we're going to start off with some spoiler-free thoughts. And I'm interested to know, because you've not seen any of the other films, which first of all I find offensive, but also I feel like also kind of gives you like none of the nostalgia bait worked on you. You were like impervious to it because you didn't know about it.
There was one line that you and John were freaking out and laughing about, and well, I was just like, "This is so fucking."
It was. We were laughing.
Yes.
Like that was a. Oh man, did you have to say that?
Yeah.
They just could not help themselves.
No. So I guess to start as spoiler free as possible, this is an incredibly competently made film that was not made with me in mind.
Yeah.
It's like the set and the props are fantastic.
It's pretty to look at.
Yeah, they have a great aesthetic that they stick to very rigorously, and everything fits within that and looks cohesive. And it looks like a maybe not realistic according to present day tech development, because everything is like analog, has these big blocky keyboards,
big switches. Yeah.
Like it's
say VCR underneath.
Yeah, they're very clearly building based off technology that was available in like the late 70s or early 80s.
The early movies came out, yeah.
But it's cohesive and it looks good, and it has a similar sort of aesthetic to like Star Wars, which is stuck in that same sort of technology carried forward mindset.
Big CRT monitors. Yeah.
It's very well acted. I don't think there's anyone in the cast that I thought
didn't do a
great job.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them are red shirts. Most of them are red shirts.
Which is kind of...
It's an Aliens thing.
It's the genre. You expect people are going to die.
You know not to get too attached to anyone. You're not necessarily a person that is really into seeing aliens burst out of people's chests.
No, it's incredibly gross, and I could have gone a lot longer without seeing it.
There were some pretty grisly...
Yeah.
Also, why do so many of the alien things look like vaginas? You know the one point I'm talking about?
Yes, I blame H.R. Giger.
Yeah.
Because like his name is one of the first that pops up in the credits, like visuals inspired by H.R. Giger.
Yeah, it's like all the organic stuff that like the aliens like building or whatever. It's like, oh, that looks like a vagina.
Well, I mean, why do the aliens have gigantic fucking penises that they jam down your throat?
Yeah, little penis mouths. Yeah, I don't know. It's all very gross.
Yeah, it's very disturbing, and it's made to be that way.
I enjoyed that I think I enjoy seeing stuff like that, because we were talking about this a little bit before. I like trying to figure out how they make stuff like that. Like when they do like an on-screen effect that isn't CG, it's less interesting for me when we're watching something like The Boys, where it's mostly just CG and it just doesn't look real in the first place, and you kind of laugh at it, which I think is like the point of it. Like, I don't think anyone in charge of The Boys, like, I don't think they're trying to get everyone to believe that literally this, the thing happened on screen.
He literally just had his chest punched through. Right. Yeah.
So when they try to do, it looks like they try to do as much practical stuff as they could.
There's a lot of practical effects in here.
Yeah. And it's kind of neat for me to figure out, like, oh, that's like, I bet that's like the consistency of the blood, or like the fact that there's this really one neat, it probably grossed you out, but like when the alien comes out of one of the chests, there's anatomy there, like a thing slid off his head. It looked like an uncircumcised penis. There's a lot of genitalia in this movie if you know where to look, and none of it human, which is actually very disturbing. So we've moved away. I don't think any of the spaceships were like models, but they were great CG models. And like,
there's really only one scene that I can think of where I was like, yep, that is definitely CG. And
was it?
I'll tell you.
Yeah, is it probably in the spoilers? A lot of what happens around a planet with this really beautiful ring around it. And there are lots of, that's the other thing. They do geography really well, where they like, you'll have characters like press a button and something happened on the ship, and then it'll like pull out and you see them through the window, and then you see the thing that they triggered. There's a spider right here.
Huh.
No.
Hello, ma'am.
Go over here, please. Oh, or just crawl onto my hand. That's fine too.
I think in general, the writing and consistency of everything is really good. Like there are no loose plot threads.
Yeah.
There's no red herrings. Like everything they set up pays off later.
Well, it's a kind of a small story to begin with. So like you can control it easier. So what I was saying, like they do something on the ship, you get an outside view, you can still see the characters, and then like something changes on the outside of the ship. Yeah. And you kind of know, you get a sense for where they are on the ship at all times. Like the station where the story happens is two halves.
Yep.
Separated by or like joined by these passageways or whatever. And like they show you that before they say, oh, well, we have to find a way into the other side, and they're crawling through like so that's the thing that movies like this can do badly sometimes, is not like give the audience a clear sense of geography on where things are happening and how everything kind of connects. And then I thought, well acted, the music was fine. The main character's motivations are believable. Yeah. And this isn't the kind of story that has there are huge stakes for the character, but not necessarily in the moment huge stakes for like the whole universe or whatever. So like
there are implications that what they're doing could have broader.
Oh, a lot more people can die. Yeah. Which I assume, I imagine they're going to make, because this movie's doing well. So I imagine they're going to find a way to make another one. Well, let's talk about, before we get into spoilers, what metric are we measuring this one on? Little penis mouths.
Okay.
Out of 4 little penis mouths, what do you give it? I give it a 3.
I'm trying to be objective here, but like the stuff that just icked me out, I have to say like a 2 in terms of how much I enjoyed it.
I liked it. I give it a 3, like a solid 3. Some of the nostalgia worked on me though, because like I remember seeing those movies, which by the way, my dad should not have let me watch those movies when I was a kid. That was a bad idea. But like they're
what are you talking about? They formed you into the man you are today.
Yeah. So let's talk spoilers.
So I think just in broad terms, I was more interested in almost every scene where there was not an alien on screen, because they go into
like the relationship between the main character and her like brother or whatever.
Yeah, they go into some really interesting, larger philosophical ideas. Like one of the very first scenes we see the main character, she goes down to the employment office, says, "Hey, I've hit my quota. Can I get the fuck out of here?" And the woman at the desk says, "No, actually, your quota is twice as big as it used to be, and I get the fuck back to work." Yeah,
you are a commodity for this company. You can leave when we say you leave. Yep. You're never leaving. Yeah. Which, by the way, Weyland-Yutani, it's Amazon.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Like if Amazon was still around in a couple hundred years and we were colonizing space.
Stereotypical cyberpunk megacorp.
Right, yeah. Which is like a part of the original film as a part of the commentary. Yeah. Where these big corporations. In fact, I seem to remember in a deleted scene in one of the films, there's a line about Walmart trying to buy the Weyland-Yutani Corporation or something. Yeah. So like they definitely had they had an agenda that they wanted people to know about, which is it's a lot of movies, like a lot of the movies that came out of that time had like RoboCop. Yeah. That like corporate, anti-corporate.
It was the big cyberpunk / genre punk movement of the time.
Fuck the man, pretty much. Yeah.
The other really big philosophical theme that I was interested in is like Andy, the android.
Andy the android?
Yeah. Yeah. So like at one point they're like, "Hey, we need you to open a door. Let's just grab this disc out of another android's brain, slam it in your brain." And all of a sudden he's a very different person with very different imperatives. Yeah. And that raises some...
He's a lot more confident.
Yeah. A lot of deep moral and ethical questions. Mm-hmm. Like this is a person. Like everyone around is saying, he's not a real person, but he's a fucking real person.
He feels emotions. He clearly feels emotions. Yeah.
And you can just change the way his brain works just by slapping a new disc into his head.
Without his agency, without being his consulted. Yeah. Right.
Which raises some really big ethical questions about how androids are treated in this universe.
I like the guy that played
he did a fantastic.
Yeah, I thought
he's probably the best actor in the whole movie.
Yeah,
or gave the best performance.
Yes, I definitely I was very interested in him. So the main character, Rain Carradine, no relation to David Carradine, I assume, the real life. Kung Fu, the legend continues actor that hung himself trying to auto asphyxiate and died in a hotel.
I forgot about that.
Kill Bill too. He's Bill from Kill Bill. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Apparently, if there was a relationship there, or like a familial relationship,
a weird,
it would be very
reference.
Yeah. It's like, hey, this is David Carradine. Do you remember
David Carradine's great granddaughter or whatever?
Yeah. Anyway, so she was the worker. She's on some other planet. It doesn't matter what planet.
It's never day. Yeah. There's like 3,000 people there, and there's fewer every day because they all get lung cancer in the mines or whatever. And they have like new novel diseases that pop up every because they're on an alien planet. Yeah. Shit there that they've never heard of. And she's looking for a way out. Yeah. It's kind of your basic, I'm not happy with my life. I want to go out into the universe, and she finds her way out, which is... Well, her friends call her and say, hey, we got this plan, but we need your robot buddy.
His finger, really. Yeah.
So she's like, this sounds really fucking risky, but I guess we'll go for it.
She didn't have really much of a choice anyway. Yeah.
So they all schlep up to this space station and they're like, okay, Andy.
Defunct, which was decommissioned and is set to crash into the planet's ring
in 36 hours.
Right. So like automatically there's a sense of urgency. We're like, oh, you got to get this done.
But they're like, 36 hours, that's plenty.
Yeah.
We'll and in and out 30 minutes.
Yeah, the second that guy's like, oh, it'd be 30 minutes. You're
Let's go in and out, 30-minute adventure.
You're gonna die.
Yeah,
you're gonna probably
so many people are gonna die.
Yep.
So they get in there and like they use his magic finger to unlock things and like they find the MacGuffin they need, but then it turns out there isn't enough fuel for it or whatever.
Yeah, it's a cryostasis pod
because it's 9 years to the planet they want to get to.
Right, and I assume if they don't do cryosleep, they have to play like solitaire the whole time.
They need a lot of food.
Right,
is the problem.
They probably get pretty bored, I bet too. So yeah,
there would be so many babies on that ship when they arrived.
Human or alien babies.
Por qué no los dos?
Yeah. So we get the first creepy moment. So they find the pods, but it's out of its
it's out of the
fuel.
Juice.
Yeah. So
they say, hey,
juice there's some room.
Juice down the hall. Yeah. Let's go down there.
And they get into the room. By the way, the main character is on the ship because she's like, I don't want to deal with this bullshit.
The first creepy moment is they find this giant hole that just goes down through multiple decks.
Right.
And there's a vivisected robot, half his body.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's weird.
We don't see his face at first. Mm-hmm. And this is it's relevant because later on we see it and it turns out that it's Rook. From the Alien, the first fucking Alien movie. It isn't an android with his face. It's literally that character.
Yeah.
And they do some face replacement
because that actor is actually dead.
Yeah. I assume hopefully with the family's permission.
I really hope so.
It looked crunchy.
Yeah. It's a little weird. Yeah.
He is responsible for all the shit that goes wrong in the first movie. Because he finds the face hugger and is like,
oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, and kind of manipulates the situation so that someone gets impregnated with it and everything. But they get locked in a room with a bunch of face huggers that because the temperature in the room went up that they're like, oh, it's time to come out.
Well, the cryo juice they were using to keep the face huggers cold was the cryo juice that they needed to get the ship going. And
so they crawl out and there are a lot of fake outs because what these things do.
Yeah.
And there are several times where it jumps at a person and you're like, oh God.
This is the
time. Which by the way, facehuggers care very little about consent. That's not a thing they do.
Yeah.
They all get away though. One of them has the little thing that's almost in his mouth and shit. Oh, those things are pretty gross. and then one of the characters they get out and they get chased, and then
one of them gets hugged.
One of them gets face hugged, and they don't realize what's happening, but they know that she's still alive.
But by this point, they've taken the disc out of Rook's head and put it into Andy's head. So Andy's like, okay, I need to be kind of rational about this.
Yeah.
And Rook is like, look, you and I both know that she's fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like, you need to convince them, just fucking kill her, like shove her out the airlock and get back on the ship and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Oh, there's also, speaking of the disc thing, there's this like running thing. But so the android's main directive before they get up there is to like do whatever's best for the main character. Mm-hmm. And when they put the disc in his head, it
changes to do what's best for the company,
which is such an Amazon fucking thing, by the way.
If Jeff Bezos had androids, that's what he would program.
There would be a little disc. So he goes from that to, I need to.
Yeah, like all the rest of you can go, but like she needs to either stay here or die.
Yeah. Because
otherwise you're all fucking dead. And they're like, fuck you, robot. And they get her back on the ship. And he's like, well, shit.
Yeah. Yeah, because he tries to stop him. I thought it was a really neat visual thing they did. They set up this, they find a device that gives you like an X-ray, and it, like a real-time X-ray.
They set that up, and it pays off 10 minutes later.
Yeah. So their idea is like, okay, so we get this face hugger off. We're gonna because we can't just jerk it off because then it sounded wrong.
Breaks her neck.
Yeah, they can't just pull it off because it'll right.
Yeah. So like they freeze the tail to get it off, and then they start pulling it off, and like when they pull it off, this thing's penis is like 3 feet long.
Yeah.
It's really fucking gross.
Yes, which good for you, man. But
yeah,
if you've seen the movies before, you know what's already happened.
Yeah.
And so she gets back to the ship, and
like she is starting to pull the ship out, and then she starts giving birth out of her chest.
Which she uses the X-ray thing.
Yeah. She's like, oh god.
And it was kind of like you can see the ribs breaking and shit. Like it was pretty visceral, but it was also a really cool shot though. Like it was really it was very
it's extremely well done, and I never want to see it.
Yeah, seeing it once is enough. Yeah. And so this chest burster causes the ship to crash.
Well, she like in her death throes like jerks and kicks a control, and ship crashes
hits
into
the gas pedal. Yeah. But they like thankfully crash in a docking bay, which was like, wow, you got really lucky there.
So like they sideswipe a fuel tank, which
and I was like, oh god, oh no.
So the station is now like collapsing into the ring. They have like 40 minutes or something.
Right. Yeah. Something happens and it. Yeah.
But they get in the docking bay. So now you've got the people on the station with Andy who are like, okay, we need to get back to the ship, and the people on the ship who have this new alien infestation going on,
including a pregnant woman.
Yes.
Who is, I think, the sister of the love interest that wants to hook up with the main character.
Who knows?
I kind of got that vibe.
Maybe a little bit.
So Rook really wants Andy to get some fluid.
He's like, look, you got to go to the other station. They got this really good shit. It'll get the humans so fucking high that they'll thank you forever.
Yeah. Also, bad things will happen to them, but keep that between us.
Also might turn them into xenomorph hybrids, but
weird things.
Don't worry about it.
So a lot of it is your typical thriller, like, oh, what's there? Oh, it's nothing.
They have this set piece where like they make the hallway this like body temperature so that the face huggers can see them.
Which was kind of, that was cool
clever,
thing. Yeah. So the alien that bursts out of the chest matures into a xenomorph. There's this really gross part where before the xenomorph is born,
there's like the big egg on the wall.
The vagina. It's a vagina. Yeah.
And like one character.
The one annoying character. Yeah.
Gets his electric like cal prod and tries to jam it up the vagina. And of course, the acid melts the cal prod.
And then it like stabs him in the head and then it melts him. And it's really
he
gross.
doesn't have a good time.
Yeah. But he is really annoying. So it was like,
He's also the most android racist.
Yeah. So something happened to his parents because of an android. Yeah.
So fuck him.
Yeah. So people start dying,
Mm-hmm.
and we're pretty much left with so there's the three of them left, right? There's Andy, Rain, and her love interest, and then he dies.
So they get across to the other side, and they find the magic juice that turns you into a xenomorph hybrid. And they're like, okay, we might need to shoot our way out of here. So like, here's some guns.
The 0G thing was the alien blood. That was a neat. That was a neat thing.
Like it's a really cool set piece. The blood, I could tell, was really CG.
Yeah. But I was okay with that. It was just a liquid scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to do that shot with current technology.
And I think the tension from that scene that I really liked is the fact that they are in this situation because she turns the gravity off and starts shooting a bunch of aliens, and there are these floating pools of acid, and then you're like, oh shit, the gravity is going to come on at some point, and they're like trying to like float through it and shit.
This is what I'm talking about. How they set everything out. They set everything up, and there's no extraneous dialogue. Yeah. So like they say, when the gravity's off, every 15 minutes or whatever, the gravity comes back on, and
they said it once at the beginning.
Yep.
And they like it's nice that like through things like this, they don't have to hold your hand.
Yeah.
Where like I guess in a weaker movie, the character would be like, oh my gosh, when the gravity comes on, this blood's going to come down and rain on us, and we're going to die.
And like there's another part where like Andy's handing out the guns. He's like, now remember, they have acidic blood, and we're at the bottom of the station. So if you shoot something, we are immediately going to have a hull breach.
Yes.
Like, so they set that up really, really well.
And
she shoots a bunch of things, and it ends up causing a hull breach.
Yep. So
like they end up getting back onto the ship. The main girl, pregnant,
the little ship, the smaller ship.
Yes. Yeah. And Andy. And
there was this one. So Andy has to make a decision where there's a sealed bulkhead door. On the other side is a pregnant woman. The xenomorph is in the room with her, but he's waiting for them to open the door so he can get out.
Yeah.
And Andy's the only one that can open the door. And
he's like, I'm not opening that door.
Yeah, and he doesn't do it. And
they're like, what the fuck, Andy?
Yeah.
He's like, well, if I open the door, you'd all be dead.
Yeah. And so she gets skewered
and dragged off.
Yeah. And they find her later. She like,
they're like, okay,
it's the thing the aliens do. They like I don't know, put sticky shit on them and hang them on the wall and let chest bursters come out of them. Yeah.
So like, okay, we could jam her with this juice that turns you into a xenomorph hybrid, but let's just hold off on that for a second.
I like how Rain's like, that's a bad idea.
That's a really bad idea. But later on, Rain is like, okay, look, you take the elevator up there. Here's the MacGuffin that you need to make the ship work. I'm going to go back with my gun and shoot some things.
Yeah, and save Andy because he's,
Definitely do not inject yourself with the juice that turns you into a xenomorph.
Yeah, the second she's not in the room, she's like,
I'm going to inject myself with the juice that turns me into a xenomorph.
You're not my mom. I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
So they get back to the ship. Like, pregnant woman gets stuffed into a cryotube.
Yep.
Rain sets the autopilot. She's like, okay, everything's good. Wait a minute. That tube says she's dying.
Yeah.
She opens it up, and pregnant woman immediately gives birth.
In a gross, visceral, like you see it come out and everything.
Again, very well done.
Yeah.
I do not need to see it again.
Yeah. What comes out is, you can't really tell what it is. It's like a pod thing. Yeah.
She's like, get rid of it.
I like how she scoops it up and like throws it somewhere. She's like, fuck this.
She's trying to carry it to the airlock, I think, but then it starts spilling acid everywhere. Yeah. So she like drops it.
Yeah.
And like the acid just starts melting through the ship. And she's like, well, shit, I need to go down and get it. And she just finds the empty pod. And by the time she gets back up, there's this gigantic
alien
thing that's like, it kills formerly pregnant woman. It slashes up Andy, and like she ends up having to like eject the cargo pod, so the alien goes flying off into the ring and explodes or whatever.
Which, by the way, Rain, probably a better person than me, because I would have opened that cryopod and been like, and just press the button again.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Put her right back in there. Yeah. The baby can go into cryo sleep too. Yeah. There was a one part before they escape where Andy does the get away from her, you bitch line from Aliens. Now, they should not have put it in. It was cringy.
They should not.
This is one of those lines where Sigourney Weaver famously at the end of Aliens says that while she's in a fucking like loader suit and shit. And like it works because it was in the 80s, and that's the kind of shit that you did in the 80s is like have a one-liner for, like right toward the end. This like, don't say that.
You didn't have to do that.
I wonder if Sigourney Weaver got like royalties for that.
Like that line made the whole movie worse.
It did.
Like.
Yeah, I would have left it out. They could have
just stopped it, get away from her.
Yeah, I think the rest of us would have been like,
you can fill it in.
Yeah.
You know what the rest of it is.
Yeah, I will tell you exactly if they had said that. If you would have been like, get away from her, John and I would have looked at each other and said, you bitch.
Yeah. That would have been better.
Yeah. So this whole thing ends in a weird alien human hybrid that looks a lot to me like the engineers from the Prometheus prequels.
I haven't seen those. What it reminded me of was Fade Routha from the most recent Dune movies.
Oh yeah. Which I guess he kind of looks like the engineers from Prometheus, so that makes sense. Yeah, but she's able to kill it right as they're crashing into the rings.
And then she and Andy go into cryosleep, and they arrive at their new planet in 9 years, I guess.
Yeah, probably not. That's never how this shit. This is exactly how Aliens ended. They beat the alien.
Mm-hmm.
The survivors, which is Sigourney Weaver, a little girl named Newt, and the one surviving Marine, all go into cryosleep. Mm-hmm. In the next movie, they kill the little girl and the Marine off screen. And fans revolted, right? Mm-hmm. And they just show it on a screen where like they
died on the way to their home planet.
Right. It's like Newt, deceased. And you're like, what the fuck, man?
So yeah, like very competently made movie. If you like this genre and if you like this franchise, I think you'll like it.
Tell us if you've seen it. Let us know in the comments what you thought. We'd be interested in knowing. But
is that everything?
I think that's it for today.
I think we should get the hell out of here.
I will be back at 7 tonight here in a couple of hours for some Battlefronts, so you can check us out there. And it'll be a fun time. We'd love to have you. We can talk more about Alien or Star Wars or
D23,
whatever the fuck you want.
Really anything you want.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Have a good night. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.